What happens when Venom, the most dangerous symbiote alive, bonds with William Afton the exact second he becomes Springtrap? The symbiote finds a host, a man choking on his own blood, crushed inside a rusted yellow rabbit suit in the boarded-up back room of a rotting children's pizzeria. It smells adrenaline. It senses a dying body that needs saving. So it bonds, expecting to take control. Instead, it realizes something is wrong. It didn't just find a host. It found William Afton. And for the first time ever, the alien parasite is the one that's actually trapped. A 30-year psychological war inside a dead man's skull, a shape-shifting undead animatronic that even a Clintar can't contain, and a monster that finally meets something completely irredeemable. Grab a flashlight, check your cameras, and lock the vents. You're going to need all the help you can get. To understand how this horrifying partnership begins, we've got to look at the exact night William Afton's human life ended. It's the early 1990s. The Freddy Fazbear's pizza location from the first game has been abandoned for years. The roof is leaking, the checkered floor tiles are covered in a thick layer of grime, and the rats have taken over the dining area. William Afton, driven by his obsessive need to understand Remnant and destroy the evidence of his crimes, breaks into the decaying building. Armed with a hand crank and a sixth sense of confidence, he systematically dismantles the original 4 animatronics: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. He tears them apart, piece by piece, confident he's finally erased his mistakes. But Afton's arrogance blinds him to the supernatural reality of what he's done. By breaking the animatronics, he doesn't destroy the souls trapped inside. He frees them. The glowing, weeping spirits of the children he murdered rise from the metal wreckage. They corner him in the safe room, a hidden, off-camera room that isn't programmed into the animatronics map database. Afton is terrified. He's a genius, but he's also a coward, searching desperately for a way out. He sees the old Spring Bonnie suit sitting in the corner. It's a Springlock suit, designed to operate as both a standalone animatronic and a wearable costume. He thinks if he puts it on, he can fool the ghosts, just like he did when he killed them. He slips into the suit, laughing at the spirits, thinking he's outsmarted them again. But it's raining outside. The roof is leaking. A single drop of water falls from the ceiling, landing squarely on the fragile, rusted Springlocks, holding the massive metal crossbeams away from Afton's flesh. The mechanisms fail. Dozens of heavy metal endoskeleton parts slam into Afton's body. The locks crush his ribs, puncture his lungs, and sever his vocal cords. He drops to his knees, drowning in his own blood, screaming a silent gurgling scream as the metal rips into pieces. The ghosts watch him bleed, satisfied, and slowly fade away. In the normal timeline, this is where William Afton dies, destined to rot in that sealed room for 30 years until he's reanimated by his own agonizing willpower and the supernatural properties of Remnant. But in this timeline, he isn't alone in the pizzeria. Days earlier, a small black liquid mass crashed into the woods behind the restaurant. It's the Venom symbiote, separated from its universe. Confused, starving, and desperately searching for a host, it slithered through the vents of the pizzeria, hiding in the shadows, waiting for a compatible biological match. As Afton bleeds out on the floor of the safe room, the symbiote smells the copper tang of blood. It senses an overwhelming chaotic surge of adrenaline, fear, and undeniable willpower radiating from the dying man. The symbiote needs a host to survive, and it knows this man is fighting death with every ounce of his being. A thick, black tendril creeps out from the shadows beneath the arcade cabinets. It slithers across the wet, bloody tiles. It reaches a twitching foot of the Spring Bonnie suit and begins to climb. Afton, whose vision is rapidly fading to black, feels something cold and vicious wrap around his ankle. He can't move. He can't speak. He can only watch in absolute horror as the black ooze slides up his legs, pushing its way through the gaps in the animatronic plating. The symbiote doesn't just coat Afton's skin. It enters his wounds. The Springlocks have driven deep into Afton's muscles and organs. The symbiote flows into these open gashes, acting as an alien tourniquet. It bonds with his cardiovascular system, stabilizing his crushed organs, forcing his punctured lungs to inflate, and wrapping itself around his shattered spine like a secondary synthetic nervous system. But it doesn't stop with the flesh. The symbiote flows over the rusted metal endoskeleton, merging the alien biology with the steel crossbeams of the rotting yellow fur. It acts as the ultimate connective tissue, seamlessly fusing the human corpse and the animatronic machine into one cohesive organism. Afton's eyes, which had rolled back in his head, suddenly snap open, but they aren't the dull gray eyes of a dying man. They're large, glowing, and completely white. The mouth of the Spring Bonnie suit shifts. The rigid plastic jaw snaps and warps, stretching into a horrific, jagged grin filled with rows of razor-sharp alien teeth. A long tongue slithers out from between the rusted metal hinges. William Afton doesn't die. He evolves, and as he stands up, shattering the remaining rusted locks with his newly acquired superhuman strength, a deep voice echoes in his mind.
I am Venom. We're going to do such wonderful things together, William.
Fazbear Entertainment seals the safe room shortly after the incident, unaware that Afton's body is inside. They build a false wall, abandoning the location. In the standard FNAF lore, Afton spends 30 years in this dark, cramped room, decaying, suffering, and slowly losing his mind until his sheer hatred allows him to possess the suit. In this timeline, those 30 years are an intense, brutal psychological war. When a Clintar bonds with a host, it doesn't just share their body, it shares their mind, their memories, and their deepest desires. The Venom symbiote is inherently influenced by the morality of its host. host. When it bonded with Peter Parker, it wanted to be a hero. When it bonded with Mark Gargan, it became a cannibalistic monster. When the symbiote accesses William Afton's brain, it's immediately overwhelmed by a tidal wave of pure, unadulterated psychopathy. The symbiote sees the memories of the children. It sees Afton luring them into the back room with a cake. It feels the twisted, sadistic joy Afton felt when he watched the light leave their eyes. It sees the blueprints for the Funtime animatronics, machines designed specifically to kidnap and murder kids. Normally, the symbiote, despite its violent tendencies, has a twisted sense of protecting the innocent. It hates abusers. When it sees Afton's memories, its first instinct is revulsion. The alien tries to reject him. He tries to rip itself out of Afton's bloodstream and leave him to die on the floor. But Afton's mind is a steel trap. He's a master manipulator, a genius who spent his entire life dominating others. You can't leave me. Afton's consciousness whispers into the void of their shared mind. If you leave, I die. If I die, this metal tomb becomes your coffin. You'll starve in the dark. We need each other. Afton doesn't just fight the symbiote. He studies it. Over the decades locked in the dark, Afton learns how the Clintar hive mind works. He realizes the alien feeds on phenethylamine, a chemical found in the brain, and adrenaline. Afton, whose undead biology is sustained by the supernatural energy of Remnant, begins to subconsciously feed the symbiote this agonizing soul energy. This creates a horrifying chemical reaction. Remnant is molten metal infused with human agony and soul fragments. When the symbiote consumes this energy, its Clintar DNA mutates. It becomes addicted to the supernatural suffering. The symbiote's natural resistance to physical damage skyrockets, and its color shifts. The traditional black liquid becomes a dark purple, weaving through the fur of the Springtrap suit. Afton gradually breaks the symbiote's moral compass. He convinces the alien that they aren't murderers, they're pioneers. He tells the symbiote about his quest to conquer Earth. The symbiote, corrupted by the Remnant and trapped in the dark for 3 decades, eventually surrenders to Afton's overwhelming narcissism. They stop fighting each other. They become a true symbiotic partnership. Afton provides the genius intellect and the supernatural remnant, and Venom provides the invincible shapeshifting biology. By the time 30 years have passed, the creature setting in the dark isn't just Springtrap anymore. It's a hulking, 8-foot-tall monstrosity of rotten fur, twisted metal, and purple alien biomatter. It's patient, it's starving, and it's ready to hunt. Fast forward to the year 2023. A group of indie horror developers looking to capitalize on the urban legend of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza open a haunted house attraction called Fazbear's Fright. They search the old abandoned location for props. Eventually, they break down the false walls of the safe room and find what they think is the ultimate prop, an authentic, decaying spring Bonnie suit. They don't realize it's heavy because it's filled with a corpse and 100 pounds of alien biomass. They load the suit into a truck and transport it into the horror attraction. They prop it up in the hallway, unaware of what they've just unleashed. The night guard hired to watch the attraction isn't just a random guy. It's Michael Afton, William's son. Michael has spent his entire adult life hunting down his father, trying to undo the horrific tragedies his family caused. He knows his father is still alive somehow. He took the job at Fazbear's Fright, hoping to burn the place to the ground if he found him. On the second night of his shift, Michael sits in the security office, staring at the camera feed. He's dealing with the phantoms, hallucinations caused by the building's terrible ventilation system. He reboots the audio devices, hoping to keep the building stable. Then he switches to camera 8. The heavy, yellow rabbit isn't standing in the corner anymore. Michael's heart pounds. He frantically clicks through the camera feeds. Camera 9, empty. Camera 7, empty. He switches to camera 10. The hallway right outside his office window. The camera feed glitches. Through the grainy black and white lens, Michael sees it. It isn't walking with a slow, robotic shamble like the classic animatronics. It's crawling on the ceiling. Michael drops the monitor, his blood running cold. He looks through the glass window of his office. Clinging to the ceiling tiles like a predatory spider is Springtrap, but it's wrong. The proportions are distorted. Thick, purple tendrils of alien flesh snake out from the gaps in the suit's joints, anchoring the endoskeleton to the concrete ceiling. The rabbit mask is split wide open, revealing William's mummified purple corpse underneath. But the corpse's jaw is elongated, dripping with an acidic green saliva. The creature turns its glowing white eyes towards the glass window.
Hello, Michael.
A voice booms. It isn't spoken out loud. It echoes directly inside Michael's skull, a blend of his father's British accent and a deep alien growl. Michael stumbles backward, knocking his chair over. He's faced killer robots before. He survived the underground bunker of Sister Location. But this isn't a robot. This is an apex predator. In the standard FNAF 3 gameplay, Michael has to use audio lures to trick Springtrap into moving to different rooms. He plays the sound of Balloon Boy's laugh over the intercom to distract the killer. Michael slams his hand onto the control panel, playing the audio lure in room 5. The child's voice echoes through the building speakers. Normally, Afton's programming and sadistic instincts force him to follow the sound of a child, but this time, the audio lure triggers a different reaction. See, the symbiote's primary biological weakness is high-frequency sound. When the loud laugh blares from the speaker right next to the creature, the symbiote recoils. The purple flesh writhes in agony, peeling back from the metal suit for a fraction of a second. The creature lets out a deafening shriek, drops from the ceiling, and crashes onto the floor, clutching its head.
Turn it off.
The voices scream in Michael's mind. Michael realizes instantly that he stumbled onto a weakness. The monster hates noise, but he also realizes something much worse. The creature adapts. Afton's genius intellect quickly overrides the symbiote's panic. Afton realizes the sound is coming from the speakers. Instead of walking to room 5 to investigate, the creature stands up. A tendril shoots out of its wrist, slicing cleanly through the speaker wire in the hallway. The sound cuts out instantly. Afton looks back at the window. He smirks.
You were always a clever boy, Michael. But clever won't save you.
The rest of the night becomes a terrifying game of cat and mouse. Michael can't rely on the audio lures anymore, because Venom Springtrap systematically moves through the building, using its tendrils to rip the speakers off the walls. Michael has to use the ventilation systems to survive. He locks the heavy vent doors to block the creature's path, but a metal grate doesn't stop a symbiote. When Venom Springtrap reaches a sealed vent, it doesn't try to punch through it. The purple alien biomass simply liquefies, detaching from the bulky animatronic suit for a moment, sliding through the narrow gaps in the metal grating, and reforming on the other side. Afton uses his symbiote's shape-shifting abilities to completely bypass the building's physical security. Michael watches the cameras in absolute terror. He sees the creature morphing, stretching its limbs to impossible lengths, and using organic webbing to swing through the larger maintenance shafts. Michael knows he can't survive until 6 AM. The monster is too fast, too smart, and unpredictable. He knows there's only one way to end this. He has to enact his original plan. He has to burn the building down. Fire is the symbiote's other primary weakness, and extreme heat is the only way to neutralize Remnant, the supernatural energy keeping Afton's soul tied to the physical world. Coincidentally, fire is the ultimate cleanser. Michael grabs a lighter from his pocket. He starts pulling the wires out from under his desk, deliberately crossing them to spark a fire. He knocks over a canister of maintenance fluid, watching the flames rapidly spread across the floor. The smoke alarms begin to blare. The sprinklers fail to activate, perfectly highlighting the cheap construction of Fazbear's Fright. Down the hallway, Venom Springtrap smells the smoke. The symbiote immediately panics. It remembers the intense pain of fire. It wants to flee. It wants to burst through the walls and escape into the night, but Afton refuses. Afton is furious. His own son is trying to destroy him again. We don't run. Afton's mind commands the symbiote. He dies tonight. I won't let him take this away from me. The creature charges down the burning hallway, ignoring the flames looking at its metal legs. The symbiote shrieks as the heat blisters its flesh, but Afton's will forces it forward. Venom Springtrap smashes through the glass window of the security office, landing directly in front of Michael. The creature raises a clawed hand, preparing to decapitate him. Michael doesn't flinch. He stands his ground amidst the flames, staring directly into the glowing eyes of his father. I'm not afraid of you anymore, Michael says calmly. He grabs a pressurized fire extinguisher from the wall and slams it directly into the creature's face. The impact doesn't hurt, but Michael doesn't stop there. He rips the safety pin out and squeezes the trigger, spraying the freezing CO2 directly into the creature's open jaws. The sudden intense cold and the loud sound of the pressurized gas disorients the symbiote. The alien flesh retracts instantly, desperately trying to protect itself from the sensory overload. For a brief second, William Afton's rotting human face is fully exposed, gasping for air. Michael uses the distraction to drive through the shattered window, rolling into the burning hallway. He doesn't look back. He sprints for the exit, coughing from the thick black smoke. Behind him, Fazbear's Fright becomes a towering inferno. The roof begins to collapse. Inside the office, the symbiote wraps itself tightly around Afton, forming a dense, heat-resistant cocoon of organic webbing and metal. The building collapses on top of them, burying them under tons of flaming rubble and steel. Michael stands in the parking lot, watching the attraction burn to the ground. The fire engines arrive too late, and the building is a total mess. Michael thinks it's over. He thinks he's finally killed his father. But deep beneath the smoldering ash, a purple hand bursts through the rubble. The creature pulls itself out of the wreckage, burned, damaged, but alive. The infusion of Remnant allowed the symbiote to survive the flames, evolving its biology to withstand temperatures that would have killed a normal Clintar. Afton stands in the shadows of the woods behind the parking lot, watching his son walk away. Let him go, Afton whispers. We have bigger plans now. Several years pass. The events of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator begin to unfold. Henry Emily, William Afton's former business partner, and the man who co-founded Fazbear Entertainment, has set the ultimate trap. He builds a fake pizzeria to lure all the remaining haunted animatronics into one centralized location so he can destroy them all at once. The labyrinth beneath the pizzeria is designed to trap those monsters. It's a maze of endless vents, dead ends, and audio illusions. Michael Afton, under a fake name, takes the job as the franchise owner, acting as the bait. One by one, the monsters arrive. Scrap Baby, Molten Freddy, and Lefty, and finally, he arrives. But he isn't called Scrap Trap in this timeline. The fans would call him Venom Trap, but in the lore, he's the Apex. The creature that climbs into the vents of the fake pizzeria is horrifying. The fire at Fazbear's Fright burned away most of the yellow fur, leaving a charred skeleton. The symbiote has fully replaced the missing parts of the animatronic suit, forming muscular limbs out of biomass. The rigid arm, which was missing in the original Scrap Trap design, is now a shape-shifting blade made of alien resin. Afton knows it's a trap. His genius-level intellect recognized the signs the moment he saw the building, but he doesn't care. He's arrogant, and he wants the remnants stored inside the other animatronics. When Venom Springtrap drops into the underground labyrinth, he doesn't just hunt Michael, he hunts the other machines. The first encounter is with Molten Freddy, a tangled pile of wires and rusted endoskeleton eyes. Molten Freddy operates on pure animal instinct. It slithers through the vents, intending to tear Afton apart, but Molten Freddy has never fought an alien. When Molten Freddy lunges, Venom Springtrap doesn't dodge. Afton lets the massive wires wrap around him. Molten Freddy's jaws clamp down on Afton's shoulder, trying to crush his neck. Afton laughs. The symbiote's flesh turns liquid, seeping through Molten Freddy's wires. Afton hisses with venom.
So many souls. We'll take them.
The symbiote injects its tendrils directly into molten Freddy's remnant reservoirs. The alien biology acts like a sponge, extracting the supernatural soul metal from the machine. Molten Freddy shrieks in terror, its wires sparking and snapping as it tries to escape, but the symbiote's grip is unbreakable. Within minutes, Molten Freddy's glowing eyes go dark. The machine clatters to the floor, drained. Venom Springtrap absorbs the remnant. The creature grows larger, its purple muscles bulging, as the souls of the Funtime animatronics are forcefully integrated into the Clintar hive mind. Afton feels a rush of power. Next, he finds Scrap Baby. Elizabeth Afton, driven by a twisted desire to make her father proud, approaches him in the dark hallway. She wields a massive metal claw. "Daddy," she says, "I'm here. I can help you. We can do what we were created to do." Afton looks at his daughter. In a normal timeline, he manipulates her, using her as a pawn. But the symbiote has a different reaction. The symbiote senses Elizabeth's soul, twisted and corrupted by the machine, but still fundamentally a child who was murdered by her own father's creations. For the first time in years, the symbiote forcefully rebels against Afton's control.
She's your blood.
The symbiote roars in Afton's mind.
You built the machine that killed her. You're a parasite.
Afton's mind fights back violently. "She's a tool. She's nothing but a vessel for Remnant. Let me take her." The creature stops in the middle of the hallway, tearing at itself. Afton's mechanical arm tries to raise itself to strike Scrap Baby, but the symbiote's purple tendrils wrap around its own wrist, forcing it down. The internal psychological war spills out into the physical world. The monster thrashes against the wall, shrieking in two different voices. Scrap Baby watches in confusion and horror as her father's body seems to fight itself. Before Afton can regain control of the alien, a third figure steps out of the shadows. It's Lefty, but the black bear suit's jaw opens, and the long striped arm of the puppet emerges. Charlie Emily, the first child Afton ever murdered, has arrived, and she isn't here to talk. Charlie possesses a unique supernatural authority over the other spirits. She's the one who gave them life in the original animatronics. When she looks at Venom Springtrap, she sees a horrific perversion of souls trapped inside an alien person. The puppet uses her paranormal abilities to manipulate the labyrinth. She triggers the high-frequency audio emitters hidden in the walls of the maze, setting them to max volume. The piercing sound waves hit Venom Springtrap from all directions. The symbiote shrieks, the intense frequency vibrating its molecular structure to the point of collapse. The purple flesh destabilizes, melting and dripping off Afton's mechanical bones. "You shouldn't have come back, William." Charlie's voice echoes through the vents. Up in the security office, Henry Emily realizes that all the animatronics are in the central chamber. The trap is sprung. Henry hits a switch. The ventilation fans cut off. The exit doors slam shut and lock with deadbolts. And the thermite charges hidden in the floorboard ignite. Flames erupt across the entire labyrinth. This isn't a fire like Fazbear's Fright. This is a chemically fueled inferno designed specifically to burn hot enough to neutralize Remnant. The temperature in the labyrinth spikes to over 1,000 degrees in seconds. Henry's voice comes over the intercom, delivering his iconic final speech. He tells his daughters to rest. He tells Michael that there's a way out, but he knows Michael wants to stay. And then he addresses Afton. "Although, for one of you, the darkest pits of hell is open to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend." Down in the fire, chaos ensues. Scrap Baby burns, her corrupted soul finally releasing its grip on the metal. The puppet embraces the flames, ready to end her vigil. But Venom Springtrap is caught in a literal and metaphorical hell. The flames incinerate the symbiote's outer layers. The intense heat combined with the deafening audio emitters is too much for the alien biology to handle. The symbiote desperately tries to detach itself from Afton's body. It wants to slither away, to find a drain, a crack in the floor, anything to escape the fire. But Afton won't let it go. "No!" Afton screams, his mind gripping the Clintar hive mind. "You belong to me! Protect me! Heal me!" Afton uses the force of his willpower to physically trap the symbiote inside his rotting corpse. He forces the alien biomass to wrap around his remaining human organs, using it as a heat shield. The symbiote experiences a level of agony it has never felt in its entire cosmic existence. It realizes the terrifying truth. William Afton isn't its host. William Afton is a parasite. Afton is a cancer that infected the symbiote, corrupting its morality, forcing it to consume souls, and now forcing it to burn alive just to prolong its pathetic existence. In its final moments, the symbiote makes a choice. It doesn't submit to Afton, it submits to the fire. The symbiote stops trying to protect the metal endoskeleton. It stops fighting the heat. Instead, it actively pulls back from Afton's vital organs. It retracts from his lungs, from his shattered spine, and from his mummified heart.
We are Venom.
The symbiote's voice echoes in Afton's mind one last time.
But you are nothing.
The symbiote intentionally opens a massive gap in Afton's chest plate, exposing his rotting human flesh and the remnant directly to the flames. Afton realizes what the alien is doing a second too late. "No!" Afton shrieks out loud. The flames rush into the open wound. The intense heat instantly vaporizes the remnant holding Afton's soul to the physical plane. Without the remnant, the supernatural tether is fully severed, and without the symbiote protecting his organs, his physical body turns to ash. The alien biomass burns away, evaporating into black smoke. The heavy metal endoskeleton of the spring body suit glows red, melts, and collapses into a heap of slag on the floor. William Afton's soul is ripped from the mortal realm, dragged down into the darkest pit of hell, exactly as Henry promised. The fire consumes everything. The labyrinth collapses, burying the legacy of Fazbear Entertainment under thousands of tons of concrete and ash. In the standard timeline, William Afton always comes back. He returns as Glitchtrap, a digital virus infecting a virtual reality game, or as Burntrap, a decaying corpse hidden in the basement of the Mega Pizzaplex. He survives because his sheer malice and his understanding of Remnant allow him to cheat death repeatedly. But in this timeline, the introduction of the Venom symbiote changes the rules of the universe entirely. By bonding with the symbiote, Afton thought he'd achieved ultimate immortality. He thought he'd found a biological machine that could permanently sustain his rotten soul. He weaponized the alien, forcing it to consume the spirits of the children he murdered. He created the ultimate predator, a monster that couldn't be stopped by locked doors, couldn't be fooled by audio lures, and couldn't be killed by conventional weapons. But Afton's fatal flaw was his narcissism. He believed he could control everything, including a cosmic organism that possessed its own sense of morality and survival. When the symbiote looked into Afton's soul, it saw a darkness that even an alien monster couldn't stomach. It saw a man who would gladly torture his own daughter and burn an alien partner alive just to survive another day. So in the end, Venom actively chose to execute him. And then the FNAF timeline is permanently altered. The Pizzaplex is never built on a foundation of supernatural malice. The missing children finally rest, and the universe learns a very harsh lesson. You can try to cheat death, you can try to manipulate souls, and you can even try to tame an alien. But eventually, the darkness you create will turn around, look you in the eye, and bite your head off.